Well, thank you all for joining us on such short notice. With all the exciting news today, we just thought we'd, answer some general questions, talk about the big announcement, some State of the Union stuff. Without further ado, well, yeah. Without further ado, our head of Marcoms, Phil Gomes, our co-founder, Max Sanchez. I'm going to let them take it away.
Let's get this started. My name is Phil Gomes. You all know me as PMG here at on the Discord. I lead marketing and comms for Hemi. As you no doubt noticed, we've been very busy today, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. I am joined on stage by Mr. Max Sanchez, who is our co-founder and lead architect for Hemi. Also, Joshua, who is the key engineers on the project. Mr. John Greenwood, who is in charge of, is basically our DGen in residence and in charge of all things points programs, evangelism, that sort of thing. And then last but not least, Mr. Rick over here, who a lot of you know as our community manager. What I'm going to do before I pass it off to Max and to Q&A from the gallery here is we are incredibly proud to have gotten to this point. A lot of you may have been even very pleasantly surprised this morning or this evening, or maybe, where we announced our strategic seed round led by Briar Capital, Big Brain Holdings, and last but not least, Finance Labs. You probably also saw the media coverage around this, which was everywhere from crypto newsletters to likes of Fortune Crypto. And so we've been really, really happy that everybody's been picking up what we've been putting down. This has been reflected most certainly in business development. You've probably seen the first 3 collaborations we've announced, Swell, Symbiotic, and most recently yesterday, the good folks at Redstone. And proud to say that we are going to be continuing on that train. So I honestly believe that we provide a very new, very unique vision for not just the layer 2 of Bitcoin or the layer 2 of Ethereum, but the layer 2 that sort of lies across both. So looking at both networks as components to our network allows us to, from a marketing perspective, have some very positioning, but at the same time is a very powerful technological advantage that we present. So first and foremost, that's the most important thing we could be discussing here and anywhere is the technology and what we're going to be able to build. So again, really, really proud to have gotten to this moment. I know a lot of you have been just absolutely incredible, testing and retesting POP and the capsule delivery system and everything. And we are full speed ahead to mainnet. So with that long soliloquy out of the way, let me pass it to Max.
Awesome, thanks for that, Phil. And we're obviously a very exciting and busy day over at Hemi, but the overall things seem to be running pretty smooth. A couple of things just to talk about from, I guess, community management, things working, not working. We're working on getting the Bitcoin faucet to scale a little bit better. So right now it's running into some issues with the mempool transaction too long limitations. And so we're looking at a fix for that can juggle more UTXOs efficiently. So in the meantime, if you keep trying in the faucet, you will eventually get through. But we are working on an improvement there. We're seeing, I think at peak we were getting more than 3 requests a second, which is absolutely insane compared to what we were dealing with even a day ago. So working on scaling that up. Pop mining so far seems to be running fine, even with the influx of a lot more pop miners, so that's exciting to see. We did get that pop stats dashboard up to a difficulty of 1 with some timestamp manipulation and such. The entire network resets to a difficulty of 1, and it takes a couple days to recover. and in that time it produces like 20 or 30,000 blocks instead of the 1,000 or 500 it should. And so that 2 orders of magnitude increase on the indexer that is the pop payouts, it wasn't designed to handle that. It won't be an issue in mainnet, so we're not spending a bunch of engineering resources to increase that indexer's performance by 2 orders of magnitude just for testnet purposes. But even if you're not getting Hemi, your pop transactions are getting tracked and they will receive points. So the Hemi is just a indication that the protocol itself saw your pop transaction within a very short time window. But for the purposes of points, as long as you're getting pop transactions in, you're good to go and they will be tracked appropriately. And again, that pop stats dashboard can give you a view into what our backend indexer that's actually going to do the points is seeing. So as long as your stuff's showing up on there, you're good to go. So that all being said, obviously super exciting day. I see a couple people have raised their hands. So Josh, if you can help me out here, can I just add somebody who'd like to speak? Let's see if this works. King Joe, you've got the mic.
Right, GM, guys. Good evening from my end. Can you hear me?
Yep, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. First off, I just want to say congratulations on your seed raise. I think it's an important milestone for any project. I just wanted to ask a quick question here. The dashboard that displays points test, I tried accessing it today, and it kept popping up this cookie issue. I don't know if it's a general thing or it's just from my end.
This is for the absinthe points dashboard, right?
Yes.
Yeah, some people have been reporting that. It seems to be certain browser configurations have issues with cookies. From our side, I've been testing with Brave and it's been working fine. I've heard a lot of people using Firefox and that's fixed the issue for them. It is a problem on Absinthe side, so we don't have the ability to go in and diagnose it ourselves. And we have talked to them about it, and I think they're looking at a fix. But I don't know, John, if you have anything else to add there, but definitely try a different browser, and hopefully that should fix the issue.
All right,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you hear me all right, guys?
Yep, yeah, we can hear you.
Cool. Yeah, so regarding that, I would recommend clearing cache. I've tested on nearly every browser. I'm able to bypass that. A couple notes about the points program right now. Just remember, it's scaled up by 5x within the past 48 hours, users. So Absinthe is rapidly scaling up. They've actually had to scale up twice this morning. So just keep that in mind, kind of as you're accessing things. I know this morning it was intermittent. That shouldn't be happening much longer, but just like with everything else, there is some growing pains there. The cookie issue, like I said, clear cache, that's the other big one. You should be able to bypass it. Feel free to DM me in some cases if there's, an issue there with the cookie, because I do want to kind of collect some more data on that. It's been a little bit spontaneous. But otherwise, always here to help if you need anything specific with the points program.
Cool, thanks for that, John. And we also got somebody else who wants to ask a question, so I'm going to let them on stage now. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, hello, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yep, yeah, we can hear you great.
I have some few questions. I want to know that how many days will the testnet will run and how many days will take to recover your Bitcoin process to get Hemi?
So for the first question, we don't have a definitive end to testnet set yet. So for now, it's just ongoing and TBD. Could you clarify your second question? Were you asking about the Hemi payouts for pop mining or something with the TBTC itself? If you're asking about the Hemi, so basically the way it works is when there's a difficulty bomb on Bitcoin, the indexer on our side that does the pop payouts as part of the protocol, it takes a while for it to catch up. And so at the end of the difficulty bomb period, we push through a transaction that retroactively pays out the Hemi. That's kind of not very necessary anyway, but just so people see the Hemi showing up. But the part you have to care about is the act, and as long as you see them on that, good to go from a points incentivized testnet perspective. So will be paid out once the Bitcoin difficulty bomb goes away, which usually takes 3 days to resolve. We just had 2 of them back to back, so right as the other one was about to finally resolve itself. We got another difficulty bomb yesterday morning, I believe. So waiting on that to clear up, and you will get THEMI from that. But that's not the part to focus on. The part to focus on is the seeing your addresses activity on the stats dashboard. If it shows up there, you're good from a points perspective.
Okay, another question. Can I do ask?
Can you do what, sir?
I want to ask another question.
Oh, sure.
Can I? What is the system of reward? There I saw two systems. One is mining system, another is point system. If anyone try to mine the coin, then he will receive 1:1 proportion in mainnet.
So there's no conversion of any tokens on testnet to mainnet. The tokens are just purely testing out the payout functionality for pop mining. So the THEMI tokens have nothing to do with any token whatsoever in the future. Yeah, we're just doing an incentivized points program. So whatever activities you do, whether that be pop mining or bridging or doing whatever is in Zealy or doing swaps, etc., all those things will earn you points, and those will show up in the absence dashboard. The pop points aren't showing up there yet. We're going to add those to show up on the separate pop stat soon, and eventually those will be merged together. But all you should care about from an incentivized testnet perspective is the points program. And I don't think we can give any more details than that, but basically focus on the points and you'll be good to go.
Okay. That's enough for our community. Another question, that what is the main purpose of capsule? You try to make capsule to give people earlier, but what is the purpose of the giving capsule?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand the question.
I want to know that why you are giving capsule to people. Capsule.
Oh, the capsules. So originally the capsules were for, it was supposed to be like an easy onboarding process. So for a little bit of background, so capsules, a protocol on Hemi that basically lets you package assets, ship them around, password protect them. It's basically, the promise of programmable assets made a reality for actual end users to play around with. So you can put, Ethereum and USDC and an NFT in a capsule and send it to somebody with a 6-month time lock, or password protect it and give it away at a conference on business cards or whatever. So a lot of cool use cases for packaging assets. And we originally did the onboarding capsules as a way to get people some Sepolia ETH, some tunneled Sepolia ETH, and some testnet Bitcoin to do pop mining with. But the original system, even though we did have some anti-Sybil mechanisms, a few people were getting around that using the system. And so we had to change to do a manual process. And then I think we're now at 18,000 Discord users, which is just way too many people to do a manual capsule playing process with. The other thing is the original purpose it was serving for onboarding has basically been replaced by the Faucet channel. So now you can go there and you can get testnet Bitcoin and testnet Ethereum on a recurring basis instead of the one-time capsule. And so we're transitioning the capsule program to able to actually play with the protocol themselves and create capsules, send them around. And so the first stage of that is if you create a capsule, and I think you may have to redeem it, I'm not 100% sure on the incentivization, but for creating and redeeming your own capsule, you can get points from that, and that's a purely self-serve process rather than needing us to send you a capsule link. And we're looking at ways that we can expand that and make it more interesting in the future.
Okay. It is a very great initiative, innovation for this THEMI, that capsule. Great idea.
Yeah, it's a cool protocol. We're excited to see what people are going to build with it.
My last question: do you have any plan to launch mainnet this year?
I don't think we have any concrete plans publicly announced. I don't know, Phil, if you want to chime in on that one.
Okay. My next congratulations to have received.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, and to answer the question, yeah, I mean we are targeting Q4 2024 for our mainnet. That's what we've said publicly. It's no big secret.
This is like first time that THEMI has lots of bugs in their broadcasting. But when people saw that Binance Labs invested in this, then they are very, very eager to join here.
Yes, they are, and that was an entirely predictable effect. I think. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're really to have earned the trust of folks like Binance, Big Brain Capital, Big Brain Holdings, Briar Capital, and if you look at the rest of the list that was announced in the press release, I mean, it's also some very significant names there too. It includes Mr. Jihan Wu, the co-founder of Bitmain. It includes folks like Alchemy, who of course really understand the infrastructure space. So, in any one of these announcements, in any one of these deals, the important thing is to make sure that the people you're bringing to the table are bringing more than just money. And you can look at everybody up and down that list, and it should be clear to the reasonable person that it's more than money that is being brought to the table, and I think that's incredibly important to see. Is that the quality of the partnerships of the strategic investor group across the board is very high caliber. So. Next question.
I don't see anyone else lined up, so I guess just giving kind of a update on the engineering side and some of the stuff we're working on. And if anyone wants to jump in, feel free to raise your hand and we'll throw you on stage. We're working on some improvements to HVM that are coming soon. We're also working on some demo apps for that, so people will be able to see like actual smart contracts that they can go deploy and tweak and play around with that use HVM to build various types of fun little Bitcoin projects, whether that be a really simple non-audited but just for exemplary purposes non-custodial asset DEX, stuff like that. So that's in the pipeline. We're also finalizing some stuff on our BitVM based tunnel and the design for that. And so basically we're taking some of the approaches from the BitVM 2 paper. We've found a couple interesting ways to use HVM to make it more capital efficient and secure. And so we'll have a write-up on that we're going to be publishing soon. And also working on some of the stuff, the integration with Symbiotic and Swell for the Bitcoin restaking to use their economic security for some of our Bitcoin tunnel things. And a couple other odds and ends here and there, but I think those are the main items on the engineering track. And I see King Joe has raised his hand. We'll invite him on stage. Hey, welcome back.
Hello, I wanted to ask a question. I was going through your social media page, Twitter page to be specific, yesterday, and I came across a thread explaining, merging Bitcoin security with Ethereum's flexibility. So I noticed, I saw a term that I was not familiar with, and I don't know if you can provide more clarity. That the proof of proof?
Yep.
Proof of proof.
Yeah, so the way... Yeah, for sure. So proof of proof is our Bitcoin security inheritance consensus protocol. And so the way it works is basically, I guess to take a step back. So Bitcoin is the most secure chain in the world. If you want to, do anything from timestamping a legal contract to securing $100 billion, Bitcoin is the place to do it. And so for like over a decade now, people have been trying to figure out how to inherit Bitcoin security to secure other blockchains and reuse that amazing hash rate, that amazing security that Bitcoin has accumulated over the last decade and a half. And the approaches people have tried, things like merge mining, where they fall short is one, you have to get Bitcoin miners to adopt and participate in your protocol. But two, more importantly, you're handing the keys to the castle over to the Bitcoin miners. And there's a very small nuance. There's a difference between inheriting Bitcoin hash rate and inheriting Bitcoin security or Bitcoin finality. And so merge mining inherits Bitcoin's hash rate, but those miners can go and attack your blockchain while mining Bitcoin normally for basically zero cost. In fact, it's usually the profitable dominant strategy. And with proof of proof instead, what we're doing is we're securing our chain to the Bitcoin canonical chain itself, which means instead of getting Bitcoin's hash rate, we're actually inheriting Bitcoin's security, Bitcoin's finality, meaning that if you wanted to attack Hemi, you would have to actually do a reorg of Bitcoin. You have to 51% attack Bitcoin because you need to remove blocks from the Bitcoin chain and replace them with new Bitcoin blocks that have consensus proofs from the attacking Hemi chain that you're building. So we're not just getting Bitcoin hash rate, we're getting Bitcoin security based on Bitcoin's actual state. And the other important part is the decentralization and being able to separate finality from consensus, or finality from short-term consensus. And so when you look at blockchain networks, usually those two things are done together. So Ethereum has proof-of-stake mining, and proof-of-stake miners create a block, and proof-of-stake secures that block in the long term. And there's problems with things like weak subjectivity with proof-of-stake networks, but those two roles are combined, creating the block and securing the block. And with proof of proof, we've separated the two. So you can use proof of proof with any block production protocol. So you can take a chain that has proof of work or proof of stake or delegated proof of stake or proof of space-time or whatever you want, and you can layer proof of proof on top of it to reinforce that consensus protocol with Bitcoin security. And so that's going to let us decentralize our sequencer using something like Ethereum style proof of stake with, single slot finality or, economic finality, and then reinforce that with Bitcoin finality as kind of a secondary security layer. And so separating those two is important. And then pop mining, also from a decentralization perspective, lets anyone do those Bitcoin publications. So a lot of other systems have essentially devolved into a consortium of, a few delegates or whatever doing consensus proofs to Bitcoin for security inheritance, whereas POP, it's decentralized, which means anyone can go and do those publications to give the chain Bitcoin security. So, sorry, maybe a longer explanation than you were looking for, but did that make sense? Do you have any other questions?
It was this security they were looking for from Bitcoin depended a lot on the Bitcoin miners. But I feel like your solution is probably superior. It still remains to be seen. But I think that what you guys have quite excellent. Considering the fact that it has more applications than on just your layer 2, if I'm getting it correct. But from what you said, is it also possible that your tech can be used with other blockchains?
Yeah, absolutely. So and actually that's part of what we're doing with Chain Builder. So another thing with merge mining, and this is kind of further down the road and in the weeds on the details, but merge mining, if you had 100 blockchains, those Bitcoin miners need to adopt all of those 100 blockchains. And with proof of proof, we can secure Hemi to Bitcoin, and then we can secure 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever chains using POP to Hemi, and they can inherit Bitcoin security by proxy. And no matter how many chains we add to that shared security, we're still paying the same amount of Bitcoin fees, taking the same amount of Bitcoin space. And so it lets us scale out Bitcoin security and make it really accessible. So the immediate use case of that is going to be what we're calling Chain Builder, which is going to be our L3, L4 ecosystem, where people can launch Hemi-connected chains that have access to both Bitcoin and Ethereum assets. They also have HVM embedded in them if they want it, and they're inheriting POP security for Bitcoin security using POP for very low economic cost of the protocol through that shared security model.
Thank you for that. That was pretty enlightening. I hope to see you guys do more. I'll probably make a thread on this and make it very easy for the average user to understand, because I had to rack my brain a lot to get it. But thank you.
Awesome, absolutely. Thanks for asking technical questions.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And I should point out that, asked a question about proof of proof and got an answer from proof of proof's inventor. I don't know if that was entirely clear in that particular exchange, but yes, Max is the inventor of, which perhaps explains why he knows it so intimately. So with that, well, guys, do we have time for one more?
Yeah, I can stick around.
One last question from the gallery. Creator. We can hear you, but barely.
Good question. So a couple parts to that. The first is on the Bitcoin interoperability side. What we're doing is we call it HVM, or the Hemi Virtual Machine, which is basically an EVM with a full indexed Bitcoin node living inside of it. And so if you've heard of some of the attempts at Bitcoin interoperability that people have done on Ethereum or even a lot of the other Bitcoin L2s, they use an approach called Bitcoin Header Relay. And there's a couple different variants of it, but it basically boils down to you have an external set of relayers who relay Bitcoin headers. You have a smart contract that tracks lightweight proof of work consensus, and you can prove to a contract that a certain transaction exists on Bitcoin, but that's all you can do. And if you look at Ethereum and what smart contracts need to do on Ethereum to be productive, they need to be able to read the entire Ethereum state machine. They need to be able to, see what variables are stored in a smart contract or what the balance of an address is. And so that state machine, which is the sum of applying all of the transactions in the chain, isn't available from the Bitcoin network using a header relay system. And so some other projects have tried other solutions, but they basically devolved into some centralized or semi-centralized oracle that's reporting data about Bitcoin on chain. And so what we did with HVM is we took a Bitcoin node, put it inside the EVM, and now smart contracts talk directly to it. You could build a smart contract that looks at, say, the Bitcoin UTXO table or the balance of an address. And on top of that Bitcoin introspection, you can build a second layer of infrastructure applications that let you essentially write to Bitcoin. So you could have any sort of custodianship model you can imagine for a wallet that is essentially a smart wallet controlled by a smart contract on Ethereum that can send Bitcoin transactions deterministically on behalf of a smart contract, and you could secure that with atomic security from Ethereum because we're connected to Ethereum. You could have collateralization directly. You can reuse a lot of the mechanisms that have been built in the Ethereum landscape for things like threshold signatures, and you can now use HVM to get that deep Bitcoin introspection to see what's going on. And it also lets people build their own custom Bitcoin interoperability applications and infrastructure in the EVM. And so you hear about protocols talking about, they're going to build a BitVM tunnel. And usually the way that's done is they have to enshrine that tunnel primitive directly into their protocol. And so it's something that is deeply coupled with the underlying protocol and can't be easily changed. The way Hemi works is since we're giving all that Bitcoin information in the EVM, you can build whatever variant of Bitcoin interoperability tech you want as a system of smart contracts. And so say, in 2 years, Bitcoin adds a new opcode that does ZK verification. You could build a Bitcoin asset interoperability protocol using that new opcode in our EVM rather than Hemi having to adopt a hard fork to do some change to add that interoperability, to add a specific asset interoperability primitive built around that new feature. And so basically it's a layer for Bitcoin builders to work in a familiar environment with Solidity or any other EVM compatible smart contract language and write smart contracts that can essentially read and write from Bitcoin. And the second part of that you asked about was the cross-chain interoperability. And so that's where security comes into play, where we have proof of proof giving Bitcoin finality and being able to then use and validate that Bitcoin finality across any chains that Hemi's interacting with. So the obvious example is on the Ethereum side. If you're moving assets back to Ethereum from the Hemi L2, then that transfer is secured with Bitcoin finality. So that transfer won't go through until the Hemi chain has reached Bitcoin finality. And you could expand that out to other chains as well. So you could say build a bridge to Polygon, and you could validate Hemi's POP consensus on Polygon for cross-chain transactions. And then that also plays into Chain Builder, where as we're building out a network of L3s, L4s that people launch in the Hemi ecosystem, all of those are inheriting Bitcoin finality together by all doing that combined POP security process. And so all of them have each other's Bitcoin finality for cross-chain transactions within the Hemi ecosystem. Yeah, for sure.
how does Hemi Network ensure cross-chain portability between assets, especially when dealing high-value transactions?
Are you referring to on the Bitcoin side specifically, or just in general for interoperability with other like Turing complete chains? So with Bitcoin specifically, it's based around two things. We're building two different versions of, or two different flavors rather, of our tunnel mechanism. So the first one is a over-collateralized multisig, which we're using Swell and Symbiotic, their shared economic security layer, to secure that protocol and basically run a threshold or multisig wallet that can accept deposits from people on Bitcoin and mint the corresponding tokens on Hemi and then process withdrawals. For larger value deposits, we're building out a BitVM tool to prove with a ZK or Snark proof that a peg out has been properly done inside of Bitcoin requires you to basically emulate a light client that reflects Bitcoin's own consensus back to itself. And the way they're doing that with superblocks is vulnerable to various types of attacks. The worst one being that a Bitcoin miner could withhold a superblock that they create and then later fake out the protocol with what appears to be a longer chain, because superblocks are not equivalent to actual Bitcoin consensus. And what we can do with HVM, which is really cool, is since we have an external viewer of Bitcoin consensus that's censorship resistant and inherits Ethereum's anti-censorship abilities as well, we can use zero knowledge proofs of Hemi Network's knowledge of Bitcoin to send those back to Bitcoin and use full Bitcoin consensus awareness in a BitVM2 construction. So short answer, two vault systems. The high value deposits will go to a BitVM vault, which has been modified to work with HVM, which gives us more capital efficiency and security.
Thank you so much, Max.
Great questions.
Thank you so much.
All right. Looks like we got one more person. Do we have time for one more question, or?
Yeah, let's hit one more.
Cool, sounds good. This will be the last one.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Hey.
Yeah, it's fine, thanks. You were talking about the partnership and that you are working with Swell Network. One more question about the mainnet, because you told it's coming in Q4 2024. What's the plan for the mainnet? Are you planning any staking, providing liquidity, etc.?
Yes, all the standard stuff you'd expect. So, not sure what details we can go into here, but we are working with Swell for economic security for the Bitcoin tunnels, and we're exploring other interesting avenues for ways to use Swell-based liquid restaking assets, both on the Ethereum and Bitcoin side in the Hemi ecosystem. And as with any network that launches, you need to incentivize liquidity early on. You need to make sure that DEXs are liquid, lending protocols are liquid, and right now we're working on putting together a pretty impressive list of go-to-market partners who will fill each of those gaps from a technical perspective. Providing a quality lending market, quality DEX, etc. And then we're also working on programs to make sure that all of those have the appropriate liquidity so everyone can actually use the network.
Great. Thanks for answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's time to close this one. But thanks to everybody for showing up. We'll try to get these on a regular schedule, but we figured today was as good a day as any to kick one of these off. Look, I just want to encourage everybody. Thanks for your enthusiasm. Thanks for helping us kick the tires. If it's one thing I can encourage this group to do is, it's one thing to talk amongst ourselves here in the Discord, but absolutely a good chunk of our success involves taking that energy and putting it externally on Twitter, other relevant Discords, Telegram. Some of you eagle-eyed folks have noticed that we stealth-launched not one but two Telegrams. So congratulations to those of you. And that's where success is coming from. Look, we love all the input that we get internally, right? But let's all focus. We're really dedicated to all making a success. Let's take some of that energy and put it out. So with that message, I shall be. I've got a meeting at the top of the hour, actually, so I'll be taking my leave of you all. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for attending, and we'll see you all in Discord.
Thank you, everyone. I'm not sure if my mic is working or not, but if it is, great. Take care and thank you.